Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the FloRugby's The Mispass.
The Mispass.
I'm here with our fountain of domestic rugby knowledge, Alex Goff. And in the corner, FloSport's angriest employee, Michael Kramer.
So angry.
Just yelling at people just like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, somebody needs to answer the door if the bell's ringing. Jeez.
Just calm down, Mike. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Answer the door.
Tuesday afternoon.
Gonna die young.
So what are we talking about this week? We've a lot of international rugby about to start.
Well, do you feel the nervousness coming from Canada? Because I think that's what I'm thinking about. That World Cup Qualifier is coming this weekend.
Yeah, against Uruguay, right?
Yeah. So
how did they do against Houston?
I was disappointed. I mean, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but we kind of thought Uruguay was going to roll them.
But it was based on the team, wasn't it? We're like, if they put out their full strength team, they'll probably walk all over them, and if they don't,
you reckon it was pretty close.
Yeah, it was interesting because there was a few people said they were missing a few out the lineup, but you had to look at the.
All right.
Caps, right?
So this pisses me off because whenever somebody wants to give an excuse, they're like, "Oh, we were missing," you know, and they list 3 guys. It's like, you know, they still have pretty much their starting lineup. But then, you know, when the USA plays somebody like Scotland and doesn't do well, they say, "Well, we were missing 5 guys, and we don't have 5 guys as good as those 5 guys," and it's like we don't get the same kind of
and that's probably because no one knows who those 5 guys are.
That exactly
outside the US, right?
Right,
Unfortunately,
exactly. Yeah,
or maybe 1 or 2, but no, it seems like Houston Sabrecats have been getting better mainly every week. They had that upset against Vancouver, but that's what's going to happen, right? Is they're a brand new team. They've got some great players. They're trying to mold them together and stuff, so they're going to get better, and they continue to do so. However, they've lost 2 and won 1, so.
Right.
A lot of pressure on the rest of the exhibition games.
I'm not surprised they lost to Vancouver in the sense that those guys play all through the fall and pretty deep into December. It's only raining there and nobody cares. They did pretty well in the scrum, so you know it seems like, and 32-24, it's a pretty good scoreline for Houston. And if I'm Uruguay, thinking maybe we're not really firing at this point.
Do you know what would be really interesting actually seeing this game this weekend? I bet Houston are hoping that Uruguay, you know, beat Canadians, because then they can say, by definition, they're better than they're almost better than Canada.
That's exactly, which would be a really nice a marketing thing, I guess. But they're a little bit nervous up in Canada. They're playing at BC Place, which is the BC Lions. Stadium. It's that's where they had the Women's World Cup soccer final. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge place. That's where they have the.
What's the capacity of that?
60,000.
Wow.
Something like that. I mean, it's a big stadium. Now they'll probably block out the upper level.
Yeah, the top one. Yeah.
That's what they did at the Canada Sevens the first year, and they realized they didn't need to. They sell the thing out.
Oh,
so
really?
they're going to have a good. They'll have a good crowd. I mean, BC has been, rugby mad since the early 20th century. So that's a huge one, because the other thing is Canada's never failed to qualify for the World Cup, and it's a point of pride that nobody wants to go to the repechage, because it's also extra money, extra time dealing with all that stuff. So
and that kicks off the ARC.
Yeah, it's also an ARC game. So I don't know. I mean, for Canada or Uruguay, I guess it's like.
Well, it's more important than the ARC, really, isn't it?
Right, yeah, for sure.
So then, when's the first USA game?
USA game would be February 3rd against Argentina 15.
This is the doubleheader.
Yeah, the doubleheader. That's not a doubleheader. It's a curtain raiser in a game. Right? So, I mean, would you call it a doubleheader, Michael?
I'd like to. I would like to, but I don't think that would be appropriate at the moment.
See what you really think, Mike. Come on. See what you really think.
Kind of think, Arizona over UCLA in that one. But
well, I saw. I got there was even more. There was more discounts on those tickets.
Really? Okay.
This last week, since we last spoke, when there was the discount at 20%, and then they did some sort of like college sale thing. I think there was trying to be a play on like people at college have no money. So
right, sure.
More discounts. And it was like a one-day thing. but it was on like the something plus seats. Anyway, I went and had a look. Even with 25% off, it was still like $65 for a ticket.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how many college kids can afford that.
Yeah, exactly.
But nevertheless, I genuinely hope they get a load of people, because I think it'd be a real shame if they don't, and especially for the college game. Like, it'd be awesome if those players get to play in front of 20,000, 30,000 people.
Even 5,000 would be nice, but yeah, 20,000 people would be that would be really cool, a huge thrill. Argentina 15. USA's never beaten them, tied them twice. Really strange that they tied them in the last 2 games they played. But 2 years ago, this is how it all started. 2 years ago, with USA playing Argentina and Chile and Canada, and they come out of that 2-0-1. They're like, all right, they could win this. Oh my, they could. Then they go and lose to Brazil, which is the worst upset in rankings ever.
I once played the Brazilian national side.
Did you win?
Yeah, by a lot.
Yeah.
And I was.
You play them by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I was 17 and I was on a rugby tour in South America.
Nice.
And I went to one of a really good rugby school in the UK, and every 2 years I did a rugby tour. I mean, it was basically the main thing you look forward to, why you join the school, all that stuff. So we went to South America, and we went to Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. Excellent. And the last stop was in Brazil. And we had some really hard games in Argentina and Chile. Mendoza and places like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like really top quality teams. And we went to Brazil, went to Rio de Janeiro, and really it was just about like the parties as much as anything. But we played the Brazilian national side. I don't know what level it was like. I think it might have been even the full national side at that time. And we played them on a football, or what you guys would call a soccer pitch. Right. And on the posts, they just put like these long foam things at the sides to make them into rugby posts. And they were genuinely just like, those things you have in pools, like the foam
swim
things.
noodles.
A pool noodle.
Swim noodles.
Awesome.
They were basically them, a little bit stiffer than them, excited versions of them. And they were on the sides of the post. And I was kicking in my game, and it was awesome because the posts were way wider than rugby posts.
No, that's true.
But anyway, we won by a lot. So Brazil have got a lot better since then. That was quite a few years ago now. So they beat them last year or the year before?
Year before.
Because last year was the one when they played them in Texas.
Yeah, and crushed them, which is what they should have done. But U.S. team went down there. They weren't really prepared. They were kind of out of shape. They hadn't really settled on who they were picking. They took them for granted. I wrote a long column at the time all about don't take them for granted. They're going to scrum well, and our team, USA, doesn't scrum well, and they're going to kick. They can kick for goals, and they ended up winning on a last-second penalty. And it's like everything you watch that game, you shake your head like, you knew that was going to happen. Please don't. No, yep, they did it again. And so it was just kind of infuriating. And the worst upset of all time in terms of
all time.
Of all time. Since they started the rankings, World Rugby rankings, the biggest rankings difference with the lower team winning.
That's amazing.
Of all time. Yeah.
So what are Brazil ranked now? Do we know? Mike, do you know that?
I believe they're ranked. I'm looking at something that seems to have them ranked 36.
Okay. And the US are what, 17? Yeah.
So it was they were further down than I was, like 43 and 16 or something like that. It was ignominious, I think is the word we're looking for, and pretty scary.
Good word.
Thank you. And but Uruguay is no fun. I mean, it can be very, very difficult.
Yeah, I mean Uruguay is a rugby mad nation.
Yeah.
So
they kind of like to throw.
World Rugby has them at 28 currently.
28. Okay.
28. Brazil 28.
Climbing
really?
up.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. They're only 2 spots behind Germany.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Wow.
What was the score, USA-Germany this year? USA beat them, right?
Yes. Yeah. Off the top of my head, something like 43-12.
So I mean, I think this is the thing with like tier 2 nations is that you can always there's always that can be that banana skin, right? Mm. There's always that opportunity. Whereas in the top nations, it's very rare that happens. But hopefully, that doesn't happen this year to the USA, because I think the Eagles are just getting better every year now, and they did well against Georgia. They've got a new gold,
he is
coach who is called Mr.
Gary Gold.
Yeah.
I actually talked to him.
You did talk to him recently.
I talked to him a couple of times, and he's really...
Is he getting sick of you yet?
No, he was very nice, because the first time I was supposed to record it on video, and all I did was record me going, So we did it
No
again.
change there.
Who wouldn't want to watch that?
That's right.
That's what Alex watches every night.
It is. I get up in the morning and I cue that up, and it's like, wow.
Some people listen to podcasts, you know. You just, Alex Goff just puts on a recording of himself just over and over again.
Yeah, he's a pretty thoughtful guy.
Yeah.
He's pretty serious. We have the video.
Yeah,
I basically asked him, what's job one when you come together, because they haven't seen him, right?
I think the most
he hasn't actually met the players.
for us
Not
to
really.
try and get
I mean,
onto the
he's talked
same
to a
page as
couple.
quickly as possible.
So I basically asked him, you know, what is the number one job when you come together your first couple of days?
Yeah.
Because this, you know, it's all about the impressions.
All right, let's see what he said then.
I think the most important job is for us to all try and get onto the same page as quickly as possible. You know, just understand what the expectations are of the coaching staff and the players' expectations of us. You know, and try and get aligned as quickly as we possibly can, because we're 10 days out from a game. I think we all need to be on the same page in terms of the type of rugby we're going to play, and the expectations of training, as I say, from both the players and from the coaches.
Yeah, that's it right there. And basically, obviously, we all got to be on the same page. I think he's got a good group of players, because they all really want to make a good impression with the coach. We don't have a lot of prima donnas, if any, really, in this group now. And so he's able to just say, this is how we're going to play. And these are, you know, this is what we're going to do. Everybody in? Yes, right. You know, jump, how high? Let's get going. So.
And it's interesting. I was watching an interview of Eddie Jones this morning from when he was in Japan, and he was talking about like what he'd done to, you know, obviously he took Japan a long way, and what he'd done to when he first came in. And it was all talking about all about culture and putting in a set of values, and then once you've got that set of values that people really buy into, then that delivers certain behaviours. And then you have to reward good behaviour, and you have to punish bad behaviour. And if you know you have to get rid of people, you have to get rid of people. We say that was so important just to put the grounding in the squad, and you can see he's done that with England as well. It takes time though, doesn't it? I mean, what's your expectations of the Eagles in the ARC? I mean, you expect to see a lot different from the past? I mean, with 10 days for him to prepare?
I don't think so. I think unfortunately part of the problem is he named a squad of 39 players, which means they're going to come in and out. We had Blaine Scully on a couple of shows ago, and he's going to be there for 2 games.
Right.
And he's going to go. I asked him.
And this is because they can't get released for every game?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a dance. So you go to your club, and they say, I don't think we can let you go for 5 weeks, and we really need you for this game against the Ospreys.
Is this not a World Rugby window that they have to let them go?
Well, yeah, they have to, but the player's looking at it going,
yeah, right.
I want a good relationship. Scully has an extension. He's not worried about a contract, but so many of those guys are worried about sticking around another 6 months.
And that's the opportunity for them to get in the first team at their club, right?
Right.
So if we talked about this before, you know, someone like Chris Bauman or something like that, you know, the opportunity to get 2 or 3 games, or you know, 3 or 4 games under the belt, play well, and then you're in the squad. You're in the first team squad.
And they're saying to him, that's why we brought you in. Right, so you wouldn't be gone during the Six Nations.
Yeah,
and it's the whole Chris Wiles thing. Chris Wiles got a temporary trial contract with Saracens while he was captain of the USA Sevens team, and they bounced it out. But then they said, "All right, we're going to need you here," and then he, you know, full on became, you know, full Saracens. But he was also he got to the point where he said, "I'm going to be available for the Eagles whenever they want me. So don't ask me to choose." Not too many people are in that position. So
it's right if you can walk back into the team, right? Otherwise, it's all about.
How much of the player availability issues do you think come from them playing for the U.S., right? Maybe if it was a Tier 1 nation, right, they would be like, oh yeah, go ahead. Or do you think that's not the case?
Big time.
Yeah, but is it? Because what we're saying is that it's the players that are actually opting, like, to say, or is it the players?
Well, that's one side. That's one side, but I'm saying there might be another side of the coin there as well.
There's a lot of. I mean, for years we've talked about guys from the Pacific Islands who are in that situation, to the point of not even going to play in the World Cup. But I think if you're a Welsh player in a Welsh team, the Welsh Rugby Union is helping support you. Be there. They expect you. You have to.
But you also get paid a crap load of money to play for the Tier 1 nations, whereas Pacific Islands, like they got paid like £10 or whatever that is.
Right. You know, and whatever it is for the US. And I actually don't know what the Eagles have paid now. It's hopped between $75, $100 a day, something like that, which is not nothing.
$75 or $100 a day,
Yeah.
not $7,500 a day.
75 or $100 a day, somewhere around that.
And to play for England, it was about 22 grand
yeah.
a week, right?
Yeah.
Or a game day, basically.
Right.
Because there was that whole thing about
bonuses.
Yeah, because there was a whole thing about like the players giving some to Samoa recently, because when they played Samoa in the autumn, because Samoa players got paid like £2, and they were trying to figure out we'll give you some hours. Yeah, so I think that has a big impact, because again, if it comes back to look, if you've got a family and stuff, and it's like, well, I need to get in the first team because I want a contract extension. I want to play. I want to get paid. This is my career.
Yeah.
If I go play for USA or whatever, then I'm not going to earn much money. I might not get the opportunity. But if I'm going to go play for the USA and I'm going to get paid 20 grand, then I might go do that because it's a payday as well.
Yeah, that was. I remember talking to Eddie O'Sullivan back in 2011. Samu Manoa had been capped by the Eagles and he was going to be picked for the World Cup, and he got a contract with Northampton, and he took it. And Eddie O'Sullivan said to me, he's like, the real thing, what he should have done was go to the World Cup, become a big star. He's a great athlete, and then he gets an even bigger contract. And Samu's like, bird in the hand. I got kids. I got a family. He was making like no money. He had nothing. And then Northampton is giving him more money than he could ever dream of, and for him it was the right decision. I talked to him about it later, and I said, "You changed your family's life." And he said, "Yeah, completely, by that decision." So I can't fault him. You don't care about your country and play in the World Cup. It's like, well, you look. Yeah, can you say that when you come home, and you see you've got 3 kids and a wife that you're trying to support? It's a little bit harder.
Yeah, I think everyone would rather play in the World Cup. I mean, who wouldn't choose not to do that? But there's other things at play. Talking about money, though, the Austin Elite strike is over.
That's good.
This is very good.
That's good, yeah.
So the first small hiccup of the MLR, apparently they have contracts now and they're getting paid.
What happened?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like we'll give them the benefit of the doubt that basically they just didn't hit. They were supposed to have contracts in place and start paying on Friday. It took till the Monday following. But the players reacted by saying, "All right, well, if you're not going to do that, we're not going to. We're going to go play for our clubs, and we're not contracted." So I think I hope it's just a little bit of a hiccup, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Money didn't come through in time or whatever, and
blaming the lawyers. Always blame
the lawyers. Yeah, always blame lawyers. It's definitely them. But I think there's going to be hiccups along the way, isn't there? There's going to be lots of them, and everyone wants to give them the benefit of the doubt. But the most important thing is the players are treated right, because I think that was what happened with Pro. They weren't.
I think they don't want to be doormats, and I think the first time there's an issue, you have to stand up and say, "Well, we're not going to go on faith here. We got to have a signed contract."
Also, it concerns me hugely, like that most of the, I don't know, I'm saying most, total assumption, but I assume most of the players are not like lawyers themselves, and they are looking at these agreements, these contracts are probably pretty tightly worded, I would imagine, because most of the clubs are owned / run by pretty either successful businessmen or lawyers or whatever it is, and so who's representing the players? There's the RPA in the UK, who's representing the players in the US, and I suppose with a new league that has to form and has to be created, but that concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, they're building that kind of thing on the international level and the American players, but that has to happen. They've got to be represented.
And some people are going to get treated poorly. I already know there's players that are disappointed because they weren't communicated very well. They didn't make the cut at various clubs or whatever it was, and it was it wasn't particularly well handled, or and because there's a lot of people. It's not just about like a contract. It's about these guys are. It's a potential dream that they're trying to achieve, and then suddenly either it falls away. It's not exactly what expected, and You know, that's as we were just talking about people's lives, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you uproot.
It's a serious
people.
show today.
You
Very
uproot.
serious
No, it's
about
true.
this
You
stuff.
uproot things. We can go back to
Talking about food in a second.
we could talk about Canada.
We could talk about
Because one of the things about back on the ARC, we saw that USA is going to do well. I think that they definitely are going to do well.
They're going to win it?
Yeah, I think they can win it.
Yeah.
I mean, they won it skin of their teeth by a bonus point last year, but I think they have the ability to beat Argentina 15. They're playing at home. They play Canada at home. They play Chile, who they should beat, and I believe they're Uruguay and Brazil away. Really, they're not going to make the same mistake against Brazil. Uruguay is a banana skin in Montevideo, but I can say, you guys were at a game last year. I was at a game. I was at the game in Burnaby when Canada scored. USA scored over 50 points on Canada. And I got to say, I've been to a USA-Canada game 3 times where the USA has won in Canada. And the deathly pall, the silence that descends on that stadium at the end of the game. If you're a USA fan, you have to love that. And each time, the USA players, they go back in the locker room and they sing America the Beautiful. As
win or lose.
Win or lose. But it's a little bit louder when they win, right?
Yeah.
And you usually don't hear it because there's a bunch of stuff going on and stuff. But when Canada's lost, they've turned off the PA system, turned off the music, everyone's leaving, and you hear these guys who cannot sing at all.
Except there's always one guy in a rugby team who's brilliant singer.
Right,
it's
right.
normally a prop as well.
Yeah, they got to get it. They've got to get a Welsh American in there to lead the tune. But that thing is echoing through the stadium, and I love that. I love that moment. It's just a really nice
that's
bit
awesome.
of crown thy good in brotherhood. The whole thing.
You
is
stand up and put the hand to the chest.
No, I just stand around and smile, wait for the post-game interview, and watching the Canadian guys be very polite but a little bit uncomfortable and unhappy with the rivalry that goes there.
So they're gonna want to get their own back this year, aren't they?
I think they will. I think they're going to be in trouble. Canada. I think they're struggling.
So you're back in USA to take it. ARC.
Yes.
Okay, Mike, are you in agreement?
Obviously. I mean, what do you want me to say? No.
Well, you can be skeptical.
In all honesty, no. I think they have a better pack. They have a little more tactful. They know they've been working together. We saw them progress through
Ultimate Internationals.
Yeah, but the one before that, I forget what it was now.
The World Cup Qualifiers?
No.
Summer Series.
I don't
the
know.
ARC last year. The World Cup in 2015.
Pick one of them, but they
Winter Olympics?
The Winter Olympics. No, but I like their chances.
Right.
I'm a little disappointed that it's not coming back to Texas because that was a great game. The energy in that baseball stadium was pretty amazing.
You remember it, do you?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Most of it.
Too many beers by then. Remember the first.
Remember most of it, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of tailgating going on there last year.
That's
good. Actually, I do think USA will take it,
right.
and I think they'll probably do it unbeaten. I think. I think they are progressing every year, and I think it's great for the global game. I don't know, with the Argentina 15, it depends who's there, and how, Argentina are a bit like France. You never really know who's going to turn up, and they could turn up and just be awesome, score some tries from their own try line and stuff like that, or they could be outpowered by the Eagles. So I'm excited to see.
Goal kicking is a big thing for USA gets in penalty trouble.
Yeah,
and Argentina usually kicks well.
Yeah, full of football, as you see.
Yeah, that's true.
So ARC. Obviously, I'm as, if not probably more excited by the Six Nations, which is also starting next week, which this is I think for most European rugby fans, this is the most exciting week of the year, because they also have the Rugby Europe Championship as well, which is at the Six Nations 2, Tier 2.
Pretty cool, yeah.
With Georgia and Germany and Romania and those guys, which I think is just growing and growing in its kind of popularity and interest every year, similar to the ARC is doing, because teams are just getting better and better. And if the Georgia-Romania game, well, any Georgia home game, they get like 60,000 people.
No, it's true.
Apparently, Georgia-Romania is just incredible to go see.
They've got a good rivalry, yeah. And there was some article talking about how Georgia's kind of in limbo because they're the very best, possibly the best Tier 2 nation. Should they move up to Tier 1? It's like, I kind of like, I don't know, maybe they still need some time, but I kind of like the fact that they're actually pulling the rest of them up.
That's true.
Germany's way better than they were.
Well, the argument is that Georgia should probably be in instead of Italy.
Yeah, okay.
But then again, we'll see. Italy do all right sometimes, but it'll be interesting to see this year, because if Georgia are really good and Italy are really poor, then a lot of people will be calling for that.
We could talk about
just
that.
to switch
get a true
do a relegation
deal.
Yeah, I mean,
why
that'd
not?
Be cool.
What did you think about Italy's tactics?
What, when they didn't ruck?
Yeah.
It's funny, you watch Eddie Jones, just like, they didn't play rugby, did they? They didn't actually play rugby. They just, it was a bit sore from his point of view. But I think it's smart, you know. It's like...
Well, they knew they weren't going to beat them one-on-one, right?
Playing
Their game, England's game, that is, they weren't going to beat them, right? So they had to try and do something different.
I love the referee just saying, I'm not your coach.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how to deal with this.
Yeah.
Just hear the laws.
It was Haskell was asking.
Yeah. It's like, and it's like, you know, you should know the laws. And, you know, I've seen a couple of things. It was just, that year, the year before, it was like a really experienced, I want to say Matfield or somebody for South Africa, jumped early in the line out and then came back down. They said, you're not allowed to do that. And he goes, really? And it's like, how long have you been playing that you don't know that?
Yeah, but he probably knew that very well.
Yeah, well,
that's most of the ignorance isn't an excuse.
That's true. I'm sorry, I didn't know. But I loved it. I loved the whole no rucking thing, and the thing about coming through and trying to, let's change the laws now to make people ruck. It's like, just because they made England look a little bit foolish for a short period of time.
I mean, the thing is that like that. I did like the fact they did it. It made a very interesting game when it probably wouldn't have been an interesting game anyway. So I think that's like a good thing, because nothing actually worse than just seeing like one team smash another one. So it was interesting, and then they made the law change as well, so that people can't do it, because I could see if teams just started adopting that, it would turn out to be just like both teams standing off. It's like, this is a full contact game, guys. Let's not get into stupidities here. But so I think it had to be done to highlight it. But I don't know, I'm excited to see if anyone else finds any more. There's so many laws and so many variations and stuff like now that, especially around the world, that it's actually it'd be interesting to see if anyone else finds any sort of loopholes.
The one I did a play breakdown sort of on this, but the idea setting up a maul off a line out, and how do you deal with that, and sacking the sacking the jumper,
off,
right? Backing
engaging.
Off, and you can send one guy in to tackle because he's just tackling someone.
Yeah.
You send two guys in, now it's a maul, and you can't tackle it. And it's that split-second thing. And is the ref looking for it, or does he penalize someone? That's a weird one. The one that I actually saw it a couple of times this weekend with the Baylor Texas Tech game, is not held in the tackle.
Yeah.
So you go down, you tackle a guy, and they tell you, release him. Well, if they tell you really fast, or you decide to tackle him and release him really fast, and the guy jumps back up, half the time the refs will just let him go. But he was held in the tackle. We're telling the tackler to
It's a grey area. It's one hard to, especially if it's fast.
Yeah,
hard to judge.
You probably just get right back up. You never release.
I don't get taken down in the first place.
Oh, well. Nice.
No one can touch me. Yeah, right. I wish. Maybe back in the day before I had all the injuries. But so Six Nations, very exciting time. Actually, NBC had showed it for the first time as well, which is good for the men's version of it anyway. Yeah. So that'll be very exciting. England, I think, are going to Grand Slam it. I'm pretty confident of that.
Interesting.
I mean, should have done last year, but
they missed it
Ireland
last year.
cheated, I think, at some point.
Probably. So. They tripped them up in Dublin, and I was asking you about this, Michael, about the home field advantage.
Yeah.
Which is real, isn't it?
You see a lot of the wins on here are home stand wins.
Well, if you've got 60, 70,000 fans cheering for you, it makes a difference.
Oh yeah.
And when England did lose their last game to Ireland to miss the Grand Slam, it was in Ireland.
So I mean, England lose to Ireland and Ireland all the time. Going to Dublin and playing is, especially in the last weekend, you know, I probably one of the hardest places in the world to go to, I'd say.
I kind of like Ireland for this. I mean,
Yeah, they are looking good.
They are. Their issue, I think, is depth. It seems like you knock out 2 or 3 guys and the backup isn't that good. And I was looking at, you look at the results from the end of last year and you're like, wow, they smashed South Africa and then they just barely get by Fiji. What the hell happened? But they played a completely different 15 against Fiji. It's like good for them because they need that depth desperately, and I think England has it.
England has it, not in all positions. They're actually trying out. So they've listed Jack Noel, who's normally a winger, at 13 or in the inside backs. So they've figured out, which everyone's been saying for a while, without Jonathan Joseph, who's a brilliant 13, thinking about the next World Cup next year. Without him, like who's the next 13, and so they're trying to identify that. And Jack Noel could be the man, but Henry Slade as well. He's a very good player, but he's fallen into players that kind of fall into that. It's really a shame. It's like he's almost too talented for his own good.
Yeah,
like he can play in 3 or 4 different positions, and therefore is he world class in one of them? And sometimes that's really useful. Like you can be a utility back, and sometimes it actually means that you are not specialist enough to actually play at the top level, and you end up just being used here and there and never really starting. I think Henry Slade's
you're sitting on the bench.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's great because something's gonna happen, and we can put you anywhere. It's like, yeah, but I'm not running on.
Right, exactly.
I'm a Six Nations historian type. I mean, I'm not a historian, but I mean, I love Six Nations history. I grew up watching the games. I mean, it was the thing to do on a Saturday in my family, and I grew up. It was like the teams were fairly evenly matched in the 70s. But Wales and France were usually at the top.
You're not that old.
I am afraid I'm that old. And but France hasn't won since 2010.
Really?
It's been ages, and Scotland hasn't won since '99. It's like.
Well, you said you like Ireland in this Six Nations.
Yes.
I think Scotland is going to pull a couple upsets, and right here, February 24th, they play England at BT Murrayfield. I'm calling that an upset. Scotland's taking it.
Calcutta Cup.
Yeah, the Calcutta Cup.
Yeah.
I think it could be it'll be a massive game. Scotland have come on leaps and bounds, and they've got new coach, and they're doing really well. I think that could be it's going to be a big game. I think it's a stretch to think Scotland could win it, but certainly they could. I think 3rd place would be a good finish for them because Wales are like wrought with injuries. They lost Reece Priestland. They've lost both their 10s, so they're going to be in it.
That's tough.
They're going to be in it. It's going to be tough for them. So it'll be interesting to see. And there's the women's competition happening as well, so that'll be pretty interesting to see.
The women's competition, I actually, that is far and away the best international competition in the world
For women,
for women. The best annual competition.
Is there another annual competition that is of like?
There's not really. They don't have
so well organized.
They don't have a Tri Nations.
They don't have an ARC.
Right. They do a Super Series, which they don't even quite get to be annual. But even that, it's like they're playing 3 games in 8 days, which is like that's not the same.
Yeah.
But week in, week out, 5 weeks.
And
6 weeks.
Six Nations they're producing women's and men's to the same level. So in terms of like cameras and all that kind of stuff, they're doing interesting this year. They're doing all their marketing, both women and men on everything they're doing. They're really trying to get that parity, which is brilliant. But I think for women, they're outside of obviously the World Cup, on an annual basis, there's not really any. And of course, US aren't involved in Canada and stuff, but there's not any other top women's competition happening.
If you're a USA Eagle. And you're thinking, okay, how do we get better? And then you look over at France. Forget about England, right? England's been World Cup finalists and champions and everything. But France has been top 4 pretty much every single World Cup, because they get to play England and Ireland and Wales and Scotland and Italy every single year. And what is the USA playing? Well, we hope to play Canada this year. Yeah, maybe. Or we'll have an assembly in the summer. We'll do a couple of games and we'll see you later. So the depth of experience is just not there, and it's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, you got to have that. It's that regular top quality rugby, isn't it? It's like same with anything. It's the same with just any player of any age, if you're playing on a regular week in, week out basis against the best in the world, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's. I mean, I know the USA men's come on leaps and bounds, and the women are doing tremendously well, but they've got to get better competition.
Oh, sure. England, though, right, Michael? We were talking about England. Women's Six Nations are like.
Yeah, they had. Let's see, the years 2006 to 2012. They took first, and they had 2 3 Grand Slams in a row.
So three in a row twice.
Yeah.
Right, but there was a one where they didn't in between there.
They won. They lost one game in that entire 7-year period.
Wow.
Right.
That's amazing.
But then they didn't win again for 4 years. It's like Ireland won twice, France won twice, and then another Grand Slam for England last year. They're probably
so we're going to have England Grand Slam in the men's Six Nations, the women's Six Nations. USA going to take the ARC.
Grand Slam.
And probably Georgia are going to take the Rugby Europe Championship.
I think so.
We'll see. But I'm excited. Are you excited?
Yeah, I am very excited.
All right, so we just got this weekend. That's it. It's Tuesday. We're nearly there. Nearly there to the beginning of this.
I know. So
just a few more days.
And I don't think I'm not even sure if we decided whether Canada and Uruguay are going to go through World Cup Qualifier because I'm not sold on either of them. So I don't know.
Well, we'll find. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
So yes, we've got all we've got time for. So excited to be here next week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for episode 14.